Control-Alt-T. Do Control-Alt plus T. Okay. Just take your time. Control-Alt plus T to bring up your terminal. And everything we do in Linux is on the terminal. So we are going to be fully on our terminal. Control plus Alt plus T.
What they are doing is like what they are working on.
Since you are recording.
So that would be Control plus Alt plus capital T. So that brings a terminal, and a terminal in Windows, in Linux, is just a program that runs a shell. Okay, so from what you've seen in the experts do, they did everything on their terminal. So the terminal is simply an application that runs a shell. And a shell is a program or an application that interacts with the kernel. In operating systems, when we say the kernel, that is the main operating system. That is it's a specialized program that manages your hardware. That's a kernel. So a shell interacts with your kernel. Right. So if you want to make a directory, for instance, or you want to play a music file, for instance, you issue the command, but the kernel is what executes that command. Right. So a shell is what interacts with the kernel, and that is one of the reasons why Linux is very powerful, because you have direct access to the kernel. So this is my shell, and in this shell I'm running a kernel. This is my terminal. In this terminal, I'm running a kernel, a shell, and I have this symbol here, which is your prompt. So this is where you start typing in commands, right? So the first command we are going to do, the first things we are going to do are just systems administrative work. Right, systems administrative work. A systems administration, what you are doing is basically you are managing the resource of the machine. So you are managing files, you are managing user permissions, you are managing space and time on your machine. Right. So managing space, time, and all these resources of your machine is requires some basic knowledge of some commands in Linux, right? So some of those commands are commands that enable you create files, commands that enable you move or edit files, right? Now let us type ls. So ls on your terminal. There's L and S on your terminal. So it's what this command does is that it lets you view your current LS. In Linux, Linux is case sensitive, so they are all lowercase l and lowercase s. So it gives you a view of your current directory. So before we go further into that, let's look at the Linux file system. Okay, the Linux file system is just a hierarchy of files on your machine. remember one thing in Linux, everything in Linux is a file. There are no drives, there are no registries, there are nothing. Everything in Linux is a file. And that is another powerful thing in Linux. What that means is that if everything is a file, if I can write to that file, I can write to that device. What this means in Windows, you have no access to your mouse, right? Direct access to your mouse. You have no direct access to your keyboard. All these things are abstracted from you by the kernel. So whatever your mouse is doing, you cannot control it, like Dr. Ture was saying. Because you want to have more control over the system, that is why you need to use Linux. So for instance, let's do ls space, then do / let me do that. So ls space then / dev, that is your device, the devices on your machine, and then hit enter. Now it gives you all the devices on your machine. And remember, like what I said, everything in Linux is what? It's what? It's a file. So you can have access to your BOSS, your CD-ROM, your console, this your keyboard, your CPU, right? Your disks, everything here. These are the RAMs I have on my machine. That is the partitions of the RAM. So what this means is that if I can write to this file, I can write directly to my RAM. And how many programmers are here? Okay, you may not really appreciate it. If you are a programmer, for you to have access, direct access to your RAM is enormous power. Enormous power, right? So since everything is a file, I mean, let's go. My input devices, my loopback, my network cards, my screen, everything here is a file. So I can take something from one file, right, and put it into another file. Let me repeat that. I can take something from maybe my sound card, right? Or let me say, I can write something directly to my sound card. Right. So you get to understand what this means later. But let's take a look at these three files here. These are standard error, standard input, and standard outputs. These three files are the main files that you are going to be using as a Linux expert or a Linux user. Very important files. ls, make directories, CDs, everything, they make use of those three files. Right. So standard error means your standard error. So every program that runs on your machine and creates an error would write it to this file. Right? Every program that runs on your machine and needs an input from the keyboard will read from this file. And every program that runs on the machine that wants to display an output will write to this file. Right? So if this is a file, that means I can take my standard error and throw it away. If I don't need errors on my screen, right? I can take my standard inputs and what you see later is pipe. I can pipe something else into my standard inputs. Also, I can also change my standard input. So if my standard input is standard in, I can make it, it should not look from my keyboard anymore, but it should look from the network, or it should look from the mouse or something else. Do you understand? So, very important to note that everything in Linux is what? It's a file. Right, so now, let's do ls backspace and / right? Now this is the Linux file system. This is the Linux file system. This is how things are arranged in Linux. Everything here are directories this and just files. So in Windows, if you have maybe 2 hard drives, you see drive C and drive D, right? But in Linux, it is another file. So in the file system of Linux, every storage is stored in media. It unifies everything. Every storage, whether it be a pen drive, whether it be a hard disk drive, whether it be a network drive, is stored in media. Right. In Linux, everything that you do for, like I talked about your device, is in the dev file, in the dev directory. You now have the home directory. The home directory, once you boot up your machine, this is my home directory. I go straight into this folder, right? So when you, like I said, when you boot up your machine, you go into one of these folders, and when the first folder you go to is your home directory. So let's do ls. Okay, so ls space home. Right? Then give enter. So on this machine, we have 2 users, myself and the administrator, that is the root, the owner of the machine. So you do ls and then home. It will show you the list of users or the list of directories which you can enter into. So when I log into my machine, I log in as well home, right? So it takes me straight to this folder. So you move from this folder to anywhere else you want to go, depending on your privileges. Now, why does Linux don't have? Why don't Linux have virus issues? It doesn't have virus issues for one main reason: passwords. Passwords. Any system administrative task you want to perform, you need a password. In Linux, you need a password for virtually anything you want to do, right? Now, so you want to move into maybe, so please just do ls, right? Then home, right? Then the name of where you are. So you look at this thing. This is the user and the PC. So enter into this. If it's home, whatever is written here, the first word that is written here. So just do that and hit enter. And please, if you're not getting results, let me know. Your results have to look something like what's on the screen. Okay. Okay, ls space then forward and right. That's right. Okay, so home in my case is going to be home. That's in my case. In your case, it may be something else. Then hit enter. It gives you exactly the same thing that we did with ls without any directory. Your system. Okay, ls, right. Space, yes. Yes, home. Yes, first students. Right. So you see, okay, fine. This is, I told you, this is a prompt. This is a command prompt. So you have your username and your machine. So the name of this machine is what? ANU. So it is students and ANU. If we move into the final part, which is the networking part, you will see that this can be an IP address. And if it's an IP address, that means that you can log in to any machine in which you have privileges. So what that means is like Professor Ture was saying, he sits in his house and he can control the supercomputer at NASA. So all he does do is his name and the name where the supercomputer is located in the world, anywhere in the world. Right? So that's why it's like that. Good. So please, are we on the same page? LS. It means list. Or let's just show that. Right. So it means list directory contents. Now, okay. Now, so that is how the file system of Linux looks like. It looks like what I showed you. So you have, let me do the ls root again. The / here, this / simply means the root, the first directory on your drive. The firstmost directory on your drive is the root directory. Never do things here, because you can destroy the machine. You always have to do things in your home. Go home, always go home. Just go home, alright? If you do things over there, you must be sure of what you're doing. Right? So for when you are starting, you have to go home. But when you get advanced, then you can risk working over there. It's because of big risk. Okay, so does anybody have any question about the Linux file system? You have your binary files. This directory here shows you where all your programs are stored. Once you install any program, it comes here, right? So if you do anything in the bin directory or the bin directory, you are looking at only installed programs. If you come to the boot, that obviously it's for booting. When you load in your CD drive, it goes to the CD-ROM. All devices are stored here, right? etc file means further things. Home is home. Lib means libraries, because Linux is very dependent on libraries. And libraries are just collections of code that can work independently, right? So it is just a collection of code, right, which other programs depend on. Right? They are just like modules. Okay, then these are for different versions. So if it's a 32-bit machine, you have bit 32. If it's a 36-bit machine, you have bit 36, and all that. Proc means processes. Every process running on your machine. Please let's enter into that place. So let's do ls proc. Right. Now, these are all the things that your machine, the system is running currently, that are in memory. So, like FS, your file system, the drivers, the digstats, everything that you want to see run, that the kernel is working on, is here. You can never modify here for any reason. It will not even give you permissions to do that. So if for instance, you are working on something and you want to know the process that the machine is running, you can come here and have a look at it. This never happens in Windows. You can't have access, this kind of direct access to low-level things like this. And it's the low-level things that make things work. Okay, so that's for the clock. Right. Then the media, like I said, is every hard drive you have, every mountable hard drive you have. Mount is anything you mount from here comes here. Options, roots, RAM, and the rest. So this is how the file system looks like. The Linux file system looks like. And it is called, in Windows, it is NTFS, right? I think it's new technology file system. But in Linux, it's ext or ext3. So that is how it's structured.